Welcome to the Sports Hangover. I'm Michael Benatar, joined alongside J-Dog.
Mike, it's good to see you. It is the best time of year for sports fans. We have all the major sports happening in October.
All at once. It's I don't watch too much baseball. I did watch some last night. I love the funny memes about Dodgers losing. I was texting you earlier today. I'm like, I didn't know Arizona Diamondbacks were actually a real team. It's like
Makes for just a made-up franchise.
But don't you? I mean, you look at them, and it literally looks like a made-up franchise. Like, I have not heard anybody speak of the Diamondbacks for I don't know, forever maybe. I told you I probably know 95% of the MLB teams.
I told you earlier, we don't expect you to know all the MLB teams. Like, you could stump me with name NHL team here, and I might not know them. Maybe 95%. I might not know them all. But I'm impressed that you're watching a little baseball. I saw you in the multi-view. YouTube TV is helping us out. Monday Night Football, you can watch baseball. Even nice. Hockey and NBA with it now. Everything's going on at once, so it's a great time.
Yeah, the multi-view is nice because, like, even if you don't really want to watch it, baseball is a good sport just to have on in the background, like old people, just like sound. And you could have Monday Night Football on. It was great. But the Dodgers are out. I'm actually happy because there's no more traffic in my area now. But sad, we don't get to go to a game. We were supposed to go when they made it. I don't know how many more rounds.
I'm sure you're sad that we're not going to a game. But yes, I'm wearing my Braves hat for our listeners only, if you're not watching on YouTube, which you should be. But I'm wearing my Braves hat. It's been super eventful. You know how mutual friend, when the Steelers are playing big, important games, we have a heart attack meter for him. And there's different levels.
Yeah.
Mike, on Monday night, when you were in the multi-view, game 2 of the Braves game, they were down the whole game, losing the whole time, dramatic comeback. The first time a playoff game ever ended on a double play started by an outfielder. He caught it on the wall, threw it in, doubled off the Phillies superstar. This hat, I threw it down on the ground. Whoa. My heart attack meter, I was screaming. I was worried neighbors might come up and say, "Are you okay?" Like, heart attack meter was going crazy. And now we have another game. It's supposed to be in 30 minutes, but like you said, the Dodgers lost. They're eliminated. No Dodgers game tonight, so the Braves game is in a few hours. I'm nervous. I'm fired up. It's a lot going on.
My one question is, who did they get to replace Joe Buck? Because I don't know if I like the vibe going on right now on Fox or wherever they're broadcasting. Because they're not as like Joe Buck. I felt like really did a great job doing it, and whoever replaced him, not as good. B team's in, and I can tell.
The B team, well, if you're watching Fox, Joe Davis is solid. He's like on their number 2 NFL team, so he's doing a lot of red zone for us. He's really solid. He's with John Smoltz. Their main analyst, like their Troy Aikman for baseball, is John Smoltz. John Smoltz once left me hanging at Will Call. He was supposed to have 2 free tickets for me at a Braves game. I showed up to Will Call with a buddy. We traveled to Atlanta to go to the game. Can I just tell you, the worst feeling in the world is when you fly to a city, you have tickets at Will Call given to you, and you go to Will Call and you say your name, and she leaves and she comes back and she goes, "We don't have anything under that name."
Oh, no.
Like, there's no bigger panic in the world than what John Smoltz did to me.
Well, I don't know. Like, baseball's a weird sport because it almost feels like the announcers are the ones that really help you through the game. And it's a little disappointing when I had it on. I'm like, oh, these guys are not the energy I want, not the Joe Buck. Joe Buck seemed generally excited and into it. And the guy that's doing it sounds like a guy pretending to be a radio guy doing the broadcast. So
are you talking about the Dodgers game specifically? Because
probably.
AL playoffs, the Dodgers were on TBS. They had Bob Costas doing the game last night. Costas, Mike, is one of the most legendary announcers in history.
I know, but he just didn't do it for me. Was that who it was? Because I was like, this voice is familiar.
Bob Costas, yeah.
Voice was familiar, but it did not do it for me.
Well, it's a little bit like Al Michaels. When you've been doing important games for 50, 60 years, it's like you show up on a random Monday night, you got a Dodgers game or you got an Amazon game. It's like, do you really get excited anymore? Those guys
I guess
really
not.
Don't.
You're just getting thrown around. Yeah. All right. That explains it. Yeah. Because I was watching. I'm like, who are these people? Like, this is not. It sounded fake. Sounded like a good fill-in. But we'll see what's happening. So who do
you mentioned the Dodgers, though.
Yeah.
Listen, they're high payroll every year. They have the best players, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and they keep losing in the playoffs. They're one of those teams where now in 5 of the last 6 years, they've lost before the NLCS. The only time they won the World Series in the last 6 years with this high-priced payroll was 2020, COVID year. Do those championships count?
They do count.
Lakers, Lightning, we're not sure about
They all count. They all count. So who do the Diamondbacks play next? Because this is are we going to go to Arizona to see you guys play?
Well, that's my next question. If the Braves can pull it out, they're down 2-1. It's only a best of 5, so they have to win 2 in a row, but they can. They have good pitchers on deck. They have the best offense in baseball they can. Then we'll go to Arizona next weekend instead of LA. Better traffic for your area, but more of a road trip out.
Definitely a road trip. I'm not here next weekend, so hopefully it extends. Maybe like a midweek. I wouldn't mind like flying in, flying back, coming, just one game. I'd be into that.
It's not quite how the series is set up. It's going to start in Atlanta. It's going to go to Phoenix next weekend. Or it could start in Philly. Unfortunately, the Phillies are looking good so far. They broke the Braves back last year. Mike, their crowd, maybe you should tune in for this a little bit tonight. Their crowd is supposed to be like an SEC football crowd, like a crazy baseball crowd in person. They stand the whole time. They cheer the whole time. They boo. It's a lot, right? Like it's a lot for us, but they're doing that for baseball, which is intense.
It's a long time to just stand and cheer, but good for them. Philly fans are wild.
I'm glad we started with 5 minutes of baseball talk. We'll get to some NHL and NBA, but you mentioned Joe Buck, and that was one of my talking points for today. Joe Buck is legitimizing Monday Night Football in a way we never thought possible. I am looking forward to Monday nights, and I just want to go on the record, Mike, I was going back through some of our old show notes over the years. We've been doing this, 14 years?
Almost 14. November will be 14 years, yeah.
It's pretty great. And we've been some of the biggest criticism people of ESPN's Monday Night Football booth. The Booger-mobile, the Booger experiment, all these things they did over the years. We were so critical of them. Gruden, oh boy. Poor
I actually liked
being black, but I did too.
Gruden was great.
But he went back to the booth. Jason Witten was the thing. Remember that?
Yeah.
He was a real thing.
Yeah, he was
we've been so critical over the years because they were so bad at it. And they were trying to figure it out. And they all of a sudden just said, let's just throw money at our problem. Let's get Buck and Aikman, the two best guys. And I say this because Scott Van Pelt now hosts Monday Night Countdown, another upgrade, another one of the biggest names hosting the show. He was sick this past week. He lost his voice, so he couldn't host a pregame show. So Joe Buck and his $18 million a year, he came out and said, don't worry about it, guys. I'll just host a pregame before the game. And he hosted the 2-hour pregame.
Wow.
He got his wife involved to host the last few minutes of it before he did Monday Night Football. And then he went right into the booth and did the 3-hour game. So
that's great.
Congrats to Joe Buck. Congrats to ESPN for finally figuring it out.
Now, what do you think of the Manning cast? Because that goes on. It's kind of lost its excitement for me. And Peyton Manning's actually trying to watch the game, and he's looking, the guest is talking. It's a lot of stuff going on to actually pay attention to the game. I wish they would almost not pay attention, talk, and check in on the game occasionally. It's not doing it for me as much. I try to watch it because sometimes it's nice when the game sucks. Last week when it was what was it?
Giants Seahawks, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was a good time to watch it.
Yeah, it was a good. Yeah,
Eli was just sad about the Giants. You're right. If you care about the game, it's not as great of an experience. You might as well watch Buck and Aikman and watch the game traditionally. I think Manningcast, like you said, it's better for when the game isn't as good, or maybe when the matchup isn't as good, or when they have a guest. There's something missing, though. It's you can't pay attention to the game and follow the conversation. They can't either, to your point. It's Peyton can't do two things at once, have a conversation with the guest and watch the game.
It does seem like they're not briefed enough because they're doing this thing. Eli's all right, guess the next play. And no one knows what they mean. What do you mean the next play? How they're going to score. They try to run it through. It doesn't make any sense to them. They don't know what to call. So I feel like they're not briefed enough. They're just kind of there hanging out, which is fine. But it's weird to be on broadcast TV. It feels like a YouTube show, something you just kind of shove over somewhere else and it's on, but it's on ESPN.
Ironically, the Pat McAfee show is a YouTube show, and now that's the biggest thing at ESPN. So I think you could say ESPN is becoming YouTube in some way.
Yeah, ESPN's doing great. Good. Pat McAfee show's great. They're fun. They have a lot of good
You sent a clip today. There's a little battle brewing, Mr. Pfizer and Mr. Anti-Vax, Aaron Rodgers and Travis Kelce. So that's been all happening on the McAfee show. It came out today. I don't know why people are surprised by this. Aaron Rodgers is getting paid over $1 million a year to go on the Pat McAfee show specifically. Yeah.
I had no idea. Really?
You think he's doing it for fun?
Yeah, I thought he was just checking. He's getting rehab and just checking in every day.
So whenever there's a guest on a show, like any ESPN show, any big time show, if you're a guest, you're normally there to promote something. And if you're not there to promote something, maybe you're just hyping up your game, because you're the Jets quarterback as a one-off. If you're recurring guest every Tuesday, in his case, they have several of these recurring guests. I think JJ Watt, Nick Saban. If you're a recurring guest, you're normally paid for that, or else you wouldn't have the commitment every single week to do it.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But yeah, my hate meter for Rodgers last year or the last 2 years was like pretty high, and now I'm like kind of loving him. He's really out there, really getting to see his personality. I think he's great. He's doing a great job. I love rehab Aaron Rodgers. This is the Aaron Rodgers I like. Peak Aaron Rodgers right now.
I liked he was on the show yesterday, and J.K. Dobbins, the Ravens running back, comes in. I don't know if you saw that on crutches. He's like, "Get to work, old man. What are you doing on the TV?" So it's like kind of a nice rehab atmosphere wherever they are.
Yeah, wherever they are. I guess everybody goes there, the rehab. How many times has J.K. Dobbins been in there? Has he been rehabbing for like years? He like comes and plays every once in a while.
Every year. I'm sorry, but he does.
All right. What do you want? I got some bullshit or believe if you want to play.
Yeah,
what do you want to do? You want to do bullshit or believe? Here we go. Hold on. Bullshit or believe time. Bullshit or believe time. Bullshit or believe. All right. I got a few. So I'm gonna go down a list and you're gonna name it off. I have one big list, but first we'll have two things. One, bullshit or believe, is Dak a fraud? Or is he I mean, in my eyes, he's always been a fraud, but to you, Jeremy, I know you've loved them at one point. I knew it's like, oh no, Dak is good. They're really good. And I know you might have turned a stone on it. You might like be switching sides, but is he a fraud? Because I feel like every time they try to show up, they don't show up.
Dak is a fraud, yes. And I have come a long way on this.
Yeah,
this was not a soundbite you could grab from me a year or two ago in the past, but here I am because it just keeps happening. He keeps being fraudulent. I would widen the net. I think it's unfair to say just Dak is a fraud. I think Mike McCarthy is a fraud. I think the Cowboys organization is a fraud. Of course, Jerry Jones is fraudulent for putting his ego and getting in the way of having a real accomplished GM making roster decisions and just being, I'm rich, I'll do what I want. Like, of course, we might do that too. We've talked about that, but it's not your surest path to a championship. And when the Cowboys haven't been really relevant since Troy Aikman was slinging it in 93, it's probably time for Jerry to step away. Jerry's the one who trusts McCarthy. Jerry's the one who trusts Dak. So to say it's all on Dak, I think you have to go up a level higher.
Now, it is kind of, you're kind of seeing it more in the league. As people get older, you're kind of seeing the flaws come out a little more. You can almost say like Belichick, a little older. Is he with it anymore? Was this really like, it was Tom Brady that was holding them together and maybe not him? I don't know what it is. It's definitely a combo of always two, right? Like if you have that quarterback, it feels like it's really good, right? Like in San Francisco, they found a quarterback that understands what they want to execute there. Brock Purdy's an elite quarterback now.
I'm blown away by it every time. Like Mr. Irrelevant, every team passed on Brock Purdy 7 times. Like every team could use Brock Purdy. Even if you have Joe Burrow in place, you would love a Brock Purdy backup. And everyone passed on him, which is like, how did this happen? And how is he so good right away? I was watching the Niners game because the Niners Cowboys game, they're not always on the standalone. You can't always watch a full Brock Purdy game. The guy is on target, on time with everything. It's like you're watching a different sport. He makes it look easy, and we know it's not.
And he was the third string too. It's right. Garoppolo had to get hurt, then Trey Lance, and it's like, all right, let's bring him in, and he was good. I don't know how he's doing it, but I was gonna say the next one is bullshit or believe. Is Brock elite? And are we gonna both agree? I think he is now.
Yeah, how can you say he's not? I mean, he's proven it. Has he lost a game in the regular season? No. Has he thrown an interception like in a year? I don't think he throws interceptions. I have no idea. He starts every game so accurate. Everything's like 7 for 7, 8 for 8 on the script. And all the skill players around him are great, and he like just picks which ones go off. Like George Kittle, you forget about him because he's old and isn't evolved. And then let's have a Kittle game and 3 touchdowns. It's like that's not even. It's not all about the skill, guys. Brock Purdy is a main part of that. I think he needs to start getting more attention. We talk about McCaffrey and Ayuk and all those other guys. Purdy is delivering it. Purdy is making it happen. And the other thing that's crazy, Mike, is he makes like $750,000 a year. He's living in an apartment with a roommate. Like I'm out here in LA without a roommate, and he can't even afford that. So that's +1 on me. But
he'll get his big contract soon, I think.
But I was wondering that how is he going to get paid? When is he going to get paid? Because he's on this rookie deal for 4 years. It could be 2 more years after this at that small rate, unless they give him a new deal.
Once you are like the quarterback in like San Francisco, I feel like you can get some deals, right? You can get some TV ads, you can get some things going, get somebody to promote you somewhere. He's really he's very quiet. He's not out there. He's got to get all the like Kelsey. How many Kelsey commercials are there? There's like 85 Travis Kelsey commercials. So many. Tonight there's going to be a ton. Taylor Swift is there tonight. It's going to be a big game, and it's going to be like rainy. So I'm not betting on this game tonight, by the way.
Is it in Kansas City?
In
It's
Kansas
in
City.
Kansas City. So she
Cole-
goes back. So she's only done New York and Kansas City. She's not
Yeah.
going to like rogue cities, only KC and New York. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought it was Denver, but then I checked. It's actually KC. So it makes sense. Yeah. Go back to Kelsey's house afterwards. It all makes sense.
Well, maybe the escape car, the escape vehicle.
Yeah.
They go to the party he rents out, the whole thing. We'll
see what they
stay
have.
tuned for those images. I'll say this: the Dolphins and Chiefs play in Germany in a few weeks, and a true test of their relationship is going to be if T Swift is in Germany for that game.
She definitely doesn't go there. No way. No, there's no way you go to Germany. No.
I mean, her international tour is starting soon. It might work out.
We'll see. I have one other bullshit or believe. So I have a list, and I'm going to say maybe not a bullshit or believe, but it's like, is Baker better than X? And I'm going to list some, and you tell me because everybody's down on Baker. I feel like he's doing good. May or may not bet with him this weekend. But
is this right now or like for the next 5 years?
I would just say right now. Like, would you want him on
this year? Yeah.
I have a whole list in front of me that I would take yes on Baker this whole time. I like his fire in him. You like that.
So you're going to list the teams that you would take Baker over.
No. These are all just guys I think I would take Baker instead of these quarterbacks, but you can tell me if I'm wrong or right.
Okay.
All right. Would you take Baker or Tannehill?
Baker. Tannehill is the biggest fraud. You talk about that. The guy's been a fraud everywhere he goes and still collects millions of dollars.
I know. He just has like nice, assets around him, like Derrick Henry, even though he's not doing much.
What does that mean? You're talking about his wife or something?
No, I'm talking about the guys around him. Desmond Ritter. Would you take him instead of Desmond?
Definitely taking Baker. Ritter's not making on-time passes. He's the anti-Brock Purdy. He's off schedule as Purdy is on schedule. A little bit.
What about Danny Dimes?
Danny Dimes. If you're talking about running the ball, I'll take Danny Dimes, who should probably try to be a running back. Throwing it, I'll take Baker.
Deshaun Watson.
Interesting one. Watson may have turned a corner there once Chubb got hurt, but now he's got the torn rotator cuff. We don't know what's going on.
First of all, not torn. He's been medically cleared to play, and he has not played. He's also
not played. So who's saying he has rotator cuff problems then?
Him. He's saying that.
So what's going on with him? Like, what is this? This is his one moment to shine without Chubb.
I don't know.
All eyes on him, and he's not even participating.
I don't know what's going on. It's definitely weird. I don't know if he's playing this weekend, but it feels like if he does, you play with him. But I think he's just going to sit out again in that rookie or whoever's taking over. I don't know who's there. BJ Walker.
In the super contest, the line locked at 4.5. Niners over Browns. I think the Niners will be hammered whether Watson plays or not at this point.
What about Derek Carr?
By the way, just backing up to that, can you imagine a Browns fan like the day after you were involved in this because you were wondering where Watson was going to go with Super Bowl bets? You thought maybe the Falcons and Saints, maybe you guys were talking about
Carolina,
and there was down to those 4 with the Browns. Imagine telling a Browns fan the day after you just got Watson, you're so excited, you're going to turn the corner, you finally got your quarterback. Imagine in 2023, the Sports Hangover boys are talking about Baker being a better option than Watson. Baker was run out of town. They would have paid so much money and said that's impossible. And that's actually what's happening in 2023.
I know. It's wild. What about Mac? What's his name? Mac Jones.
That's an interesting one. Dan Orlovsky, who I respect on ESPN, he said if Mac Jones was on the 49ers right now, they would have the same record as they do with Purdy.
No.
That's what he said.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit. There's no way you're going to say that about anybody. I actually started following this guy on TikTok that like is a former college QB that breaks down the plays and like showing how good Brock Purdy really is. And he's good. He's like high IQ. And that's all it takes. If you're really smart, you can play quarterback because that's all it seems like. Obviously you have to be athletic, be able to throw the ball, run a little bit, but it does seem the higher the IQ, I don't know how you test for that. It feels like pocket awareness, moving around, where to make the next call. You see some quarterbacks, like they showed Mac Jones, he didn't know where to throw the ball. And the same thing with Dak. Dak kind of scrambled and didn't know where to throw the ball because he looked this way and he's like, I need to throw it over here, but it wasn't open. And then he went through his progression, but wasn't fast enough. So I don't know. Seems...
I agree. Purdy is very smart and very high IQ. They do measure it. We've heard of the Wonderlic test, and they give quarterback tests. Apparently, Mike, CJ Stroud had one of the lowest, IQ quarterback tests ever given last offseason. And look at him now. So it's not all IQ.
Listen, but that's the thing. I don't think that Wonderlic test is actually a comparable measure of it, right? Like, what did Tom Brady score on it? I mean, what would we score on it? I don't think we'd score very good at all. I feel like we know how to play Madden.
Maybe we should take it and
take
are
it.
we on the CJ Stroud or Brock Purdy? Which
all
one?
right, let's take it. I'm sure we can find it somewhere online.
To answer your question, I'm actually going to take Mac Jones over Baker. That's the first one. I think Mac's been a victim of bad coaching, and it's made him worse, and he might not be savable at this point.
What you say? I don't believe it.
Do you remember his offensive coordinator last year was a defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia? Like, he hasn't been put in a good spot here.
I just don't think his attitude is right either. Like, I feel like he's like
dirty,
kind of pissed off a little bit, almost like Matt Canada. Did you see that video of Matt Canada for Pittsburgh? The
Penguins game, right?
Well, no, the offensive coordinator, like when they threw a play that he did not call, he didn't even cheer for when they scored, when they beat Baltimore last weekend. He just sat there. He like got tapped by somebody in the room to look happy because they knew they were on TV. It's so bad. I don't know when they're going to fire him. Clearly, everybody in Pittsburgh wants that man fired.
That's what I thought you were talking about. At the Penguins' first game of the season, there was a Fire Canada chant breaking out. And it's like, how perfect that it's crossing over other sports. That's Pittsburgh sports for you. He's really bad.
What else you got? That's all I got on bullshit or believe.
Bullshit or believe. Let me see. How about this? We were talking about frauds. I'm going to give you two more bullshit or believes. You tell me if they're a fraud, because they've been two hot names, Mike, and they've kind of fallen off here. The first one is Deion Sanders a fraud? Where did Colorado go? Where have they gone?
I don't think he's a fraud. I think he's doing exactly what he's meant to do. He is recruiting. He's getting people hyped about it. He's bringing in money for the area. It's not about win or lose, right? It's about, can you recruit? Can you earn money? And it seems like he's done his job. I do not care if he wins or loses. That is not the point. His job is to get more people there and more money. And he did it. And I don't think he's a fraud.
I agree with you. It's bullshit that he's a fraud. I believe it's just that he was on top of the world, and he lost a few games when we stopped talking about him. The other guy who was on top of the world.
So
that's not the only reason. This is a guy who's undefeated in college football, and he's actually ranked behind a team, Texas, who has a loss, and it's Caleb Williams in USC. Everyone is hyping up Caleb Williams. They almost lost to a bad Arizona team, a home game last week, triple overtime just to beat a bad team. Is Caleb Williams a fraud, bullshit, or believe?
Jeremy, you know I don't watch college football. I have no idea. I could not tell you on a...
Just wanted you to say yes. I wanted you to give a hot take for us.
I have no idea. I would say... you see all the quarterbacks coming into the NFL, and you're always like, oh, this guy's going to be like... Wasn't Bryce Young picked first overall?
Yeah.
Right? And you look at him, you're like, well, he's a little small. He's going to get hurt. He's been injured. And you're like, why did they take him first overall? And they pass up on all these other guys.
And why did you trade away DJ Moore to get him? Why is your best receiver Adam Thielen? Why is your best running back Miles Sanders? There's a lot of questions on that organization.
Yeah. And it's like that new owner, and he's a billionaire, and he's just trying to like change things up. I don't know what's going on, but it's not. I feel like when you're a QB coming in from college, I think it matters a lot where you go. And sometimes when you go to that first team overall, it is not a good spot to be, because you're not going to be very good. Now, like Houston got a little lucky. I feel like Desmond Ritter's like mediocre. He was there last year. I don't know. It's really hard because you don't know how to test them truly until they're in the NFL and the NFL speed. And a different ball, right? They're throwing a different size ball.
Slightly different. I just feel like Caleb is not delivering so far. I know he has a bad defense. I know his coach has never prioritized defense. I feel like he's not playing his best ball to be this next Andrew Luck that everyone's talking about. And I'm sounding the alarm now today in early October.
Should I get do I have an alarm sound of breaking news?
Yeah. Sounding the alarm. We need to just pump the brakes on Caleb. Let him show he's great in college before we anoint him in the NFL, because the college thing hasn't looked real clean the first month of the season.
Do you want to do some bets? Talk about a super contest?
Yeah, I do. I want to talk about me going 4-1 last week.
Hold on. I haven't played this sound in a while. This was an old sound when we used to gamble a lot.
If money talks, then I got a lot to say. I'm on the grind trying to make $100,000 a day. With game that I pick, believe me, it's a winner.
It's a little long.
That's a good drop. This one trails out a little. Money talks 4-1 last week. It's a new quarter. He's still going. He's overpowering us. Let him take over. It was a good week for me. I'm happy to be up there. The new quarter is a thing in our super contest. Hopefully our listeners have joined by now. And they know it's week 5 was a new season. and 4-1's a great start. Our rich friend went 5-0. I don't know how he did that. I don't know how he got so lucky.
He took
that
all
won't
the
happen
morning games.
again. I'm not worried about it.
All the morning games he took.
I know, like he was only available that window.
Last week was finally a week where it like settled down a little bit. You see more like people coming back down to earth, able to catch up a little. Like I'm only two out of first, and you're only like 4 out of first. Like it's not crazy because that could happen in 1 week. So I'm excited. I'm glad Sam got a 5-0. It's crazy. This league is weird because we do have those half points, so they always push it so you don't get the pushes. Next year we might add those in, but I think this is the harder week. I've had a lot of trouble this week. I've looked at the games. I'm unsure. Last week it felt a little more obvious on some of the games. Now
I don't know. I thought last week Vegas finally started to understand the lines, because the lines were in a place where, at least in our contest, I would think throughout multiple pools, that there were split decisions, and we didn't see a lot of that the first 4 weeks. It was like people were piling on one side or the other. It was very clear. Last week, for the first time, a lot of split decisions. Looking at the games this week, I don't love 5 again. I'm in that boat where I'm not loving 5, so I feel like there's going to be a lot of split decisions again.
All right. Well, why don't you start off with like your least confident game? Like one of those, and I'll jump into one of them too. I have a few up here that I kind of like, but I'm unsure. What do you got?
Least confident. I feel like I want to take the Cardinals at +6.5. They're at the Rams. The Rams are favorites. I don't think the Rams are totally for real. They're 2-3. I'm not sure. Coming into the season, I thought they were on the tank for Caleb thing. I thought they might trade Stafford away and Cup out for the year. Clear that didn't happen. The Cardinals can cover 6.5. If they're down 13 late and they score a touchdown, they cover the game. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. But also, obviously, I wish the line was 7.5.
Sure. Yeah. If it was 7.5, it'd feel a lot better. I'm kind of the same. Like there's a little value on it. I feel like the line's good. It's a division dog, right? So you're on the road. If it was a division home dog, it'd be a little better. But I don't know. Last week, Arizona kind of screwed me a little when I had them. I thought it was going to be more of a competitive game, and they did not compete to.
Well, I didn't like you doing that pick. You and our lawyer friend who were both on last week, you were both singing the praises of the Cardinals. And I said, what happened last time Jamar Chase said, give me the damn ball? They gave him the damn ball. I know. And they gave him the damn ball.
But I still do not think he's right. So I just want to see this week. Like I like Cincinnati a little bit this week, but I want to see, because Rams are not as good. I don't know. It's weird. It's like, I don't know where we're at. Like Arizona beat Dallas, but Cincinnati beat them last week. So how did they look? And like Arizona still scored a lot of points, right? They scored 20 points. So they were competitive. They just weren't competitive enough. And the line was a little short.
And a lot of people last week were on the Rams. And I told you, conventional wisdom, Rams at home against the Eagles. Eagles, road favorite, take the Rams. I told you, I'm taking the Eagles just to say, I want to fade the public. You're teaching me about the public. All the public money was on the Rams. The line was moving in that direction. I was like, I'm going to take the Eagles. And I was right on that one. And so that makes me think, well, do I fade the Rams again? And do I take the Eagles again? The Eagles are -6.5 against the Jets. I think they can definitely win by 7 points in that game. I think the Jets are inflated against Denver. I think Denver, you're talking about old guys failing. Sean Payton continues to fail. The Broncos are a dumpster fire at this point. I don't think the Jets are any good. The Eagles could cover that.
But this week's worries me a little bit. Like some weather might be a factor. So I'm gonna wait for my picks at the end of the week. But New York outside, I mean, this is a big game. Also, I have a stat. I'm sure you'll see it around everywhere. Jets have never beaten the Eagles. The Eagles are 12-0 against the Jets.
Which is weird to like read too much into. Like it's a fact, it's a real thing. But like the first 8 times they played, no one from these organizations were probably alive yet, right? I mean, it's one of those.
It's a trend line that you want to try to use in your stats, right? Like you could look at something, it's like division home dogs trends to be a 62% cover rate. So there's something there. No one can like put your finger on it, but you have numbers that kind of back it up, and you have enough. You have like hundreds of games. This is 12 games, not a big number. They could go 100 games and it could probably be even. The one game that really I'm really interested in, I kind of want to bet, a little nervous. I want to take Minnesota this week. They just unloaded Justin Jefferson injured on the IR. They want to trade Kirk Cousins. They might trade Hawkinson. They might just unload. Let's fire sale.
Yeah, they should.
Part of me thinks though, I have value on Chicago, but I still think Minnesota is a much better team than Chicago. Like, this line should not be 2.5. And I know Justin Jefferson's out, but this makes me feel like the right side is Minnesota. It scares me. I don't really want to bet it, but that's where I'm leaning right now. But you could also tell me, oh, Chicago just figured it out and they're going to blow out Minnesota, which I could also see happening. These two teams could be interchangeable as bad teams, right? They have the same record, so that's pretty bad.
They both are 1-4, which is surprising. They don't feel like they're both 1-4. I agree. The Vikings should be a better team than the Bears. You make an interesting point. When do you let a team like the Vikings tell you who they are? Because throughout the first 5 weeks of the year, we're both on them last week. We're both on them against the Chiefs, against the Super Bowl champs, and we still believe the Vikings. I know the refs screwed us.
They should have covered. I should
have been 5-0. I know. I should have been 5-0.
I was watching. I was so pissed. I'm like, what is happening? They're here. All they got to do. They're
interference for no reason. The helmet off. The whole thing.
So yes, but Minnesota.
But my question is, listen, when do you let a team tell us who you are? Because I get the first 4 weeks you're trying to figure it out. The Vikings are still not covering. They've covered one game all year. It was against the Panthers. Why are they going to start now?
I don't know. I can't answer it. I really can't answer it. I have no idea. This game confuses me because I know there's a right side, and let me look just where like some public money is right now. So let me get a feel on that. So I'm going to pull it up.
I would think it's on the Bears, a 2.5-point home dog, 10 days to prepare, coming off their first win. That's got to be where public.
So we have some sharp action on the Bears. But let me see where the public's at. The public is, I wouldn't say it's evenly split, but we have 62% of the money on the Vikings and 57% of the bets on the Vikings. So it's like leaning in favor of the Vikings, which makes sense, but that's what worries me. I do think the public lately, like, right now, 94% of the money's on the Colts, and that worries me. I think that's the right move too, because Jags are coming back from London. They didn't have a bye week, which is really confusing.
Weird, right? Yeah.
6%.
They were there 2 weeks.
I know. 6% of the money's on the Jags. That is a very, very small margin. Then Vegas needs this game, so you should go for that line. But I don't know. These games are weird this week. I'm going to be very confused. It opened at 6.5. I think currently it's at 3.5, and I think in our contest we have it at
4.5.
4.5.
Jags
so
favored.
It's tough. It's not a
Mike, we call ourselves the Sports Hangover. The Jaguars absolutely have a hangover this week. They absolutely do. They were in London for at least 10 days. Mutual friend, we should probably call him on this question. He's been in Europe the same time as the Jags, 2.5 weeks. Imagine his vibe coming back. He's feeling bloated. He's probably feeling fat. He drank a lot. He was a tourist. His mind is not right. The Jags are coming back like mutual friend, back to play the Colts, an upstart team who, with Gardner Minshew a few weeks ago, covered against the Ravens in a game I thought they had no chance without Richardson. And so all conventional wisdom points to the Colts, but to our point about the Eagles and the Rams last week, so often you should actually fade conventional wisdom because that's what wins you money.
Sometimes, but it is tough. Like, that makes sense. Like last week, the Jags playing Buffalo, like it made sense as well to take the Jags, right? But that's the hard part. Like, when it makes sense, what are the other underlying factors? Also, our mutual friend, he's going to probably drink his way through his jet lag. He'll probably just like come home and like get that rhythm.
That's what Blake Bortles would do if he still played for the Jags.
True. That's true. But I'm glad Minshew's playing for Indy. He looked actually pretty good the last like 2 weeks that he played.
I know. Kind of sucks for your boy though. Your boy,
he'll come back
for a while.
He's got to learn. These are like rookie quarterbacks. Like, you got to learn. Don't go too crazy. You don't want to go get hit.
You blaming him?
I'm not blaming. Well, I'm just saying a lot of these rookies don't understand the slide. They want to like make the play and be the savior, and then they get all these concussions. Like, didn't all like Bryce Young got a concussion? Who else had a concussion already? Did Ritter have a concussion or no?
No, because the Falcons fans want Ritter to have a concussion, but he hasn't had one yet.
And then what do you think? I mean, I know this is gonna already be out when the game's on, but what do you think about tonight? The line's 10.5. I see value in Kansas City. I'm leaning towards Denver just because of the weather's going to be bad. 10.5 points is a lot of points. I could see this being like a 10-17 game, like low scoring. Bet the under. That's kind of where I'm seeing it, but I'm not going to bet.
Could definitely let off You're not betting it.
I'm scared. I'm scared that my lean is towards Denver. I'm scared of Kansas City, and Taylor Swift's in the building. When she's there, Travis Kelce's going to step up.
I'll actually talk about the game in the past tense since it did already happen to our listeners.
Talk about it. Yeah, talking about
and the game. It's no surprise that the Chiefs let their foot off the pedal.
Yeah.
They didn't have to go hard. They just played a few days ago. Why ride Pacheco hard? Why ride Kelsey sprained ankle hard? When you don't have to, you're playing Sean Payton. So I think their stars get less snaps. I think it might be a closer game. But again, Russell Wilson is so bad. That late interception he threw is the reason the Chiefs probably covered last night, is what I'm going to say.
Oh, I will say, if he threw an interception last night, he's going off game plan, because I'm sure Sean Payton's pretty mad about the week before about interceptions or fumbles. Like this has got to be a tight game. They should run the ball.
Check down is what he was supposed to do, but then he got desperate down 7 through the pick, and that's why the Broncos didn't cover.
So we'll see what happens tonight.
Should we do a new segment where we talk about
predict
a game in past tense, it already happened, and see if we're ever right?
Well, I feel like that's what we're doing when we're gambling on the games. We're trying to figure out the game plan of I want to bet Miami this week. They're 13.5-point favorites. But I'm like, how in the world does Carolina do anything? I don't think they can do anything, but that's like dumb me trying to bet, and that doesn't make any sense. But it did work last week, right? Didn't Miami cover?
I mean, the Dolphins covered against the Giants. It wasn't certain, really, as certain as it should have been. They didn't play
interception
as
by Tua.
dynamic. Yeah, 2 interceptions by Tua. The Giants almost backdoored it. They had the ball late with Tyrod Taylor. I was like, my God, I'm going to lose the easiest.
Tyrod's pretty good.
And we didn't. Might be better than Daniel Jones. You should do that game with Tyrod and see how many quarterbacks he's better than.
It's weird to think about it. Tyrod was supposed to be the starting quarterback for the Chargers, got shot in his lungs, became the backup quarterback. Justin Herbert took over, and then they shipped him off. Technically, Tyrod Taylor should be a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he's on the New York Giants, and he's waiting for his turn. I think he's like a Ryan Tannehill. He could come back, relive it a little, or Geno Smith.
But what's the best job in all of sports?
Backup
quarterback. Why get hit when you don't have to?
I know, it's true.
Get your money, throw your practice plays, and not play in the games so you survive. The one other game I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned it earlier, Bengals Seahawks. Interesting game. Seahawks at Bengals. Bengals -2.5. So they're not getting, to me, I still call home field 3. I know you don't. I call home field 3.
Home field's no longer 3.
For me, it is.
No.
Seahawks
only at a few stadiums could you consider it 3.
Maybe a team like Seattle going to the East Coast, we can call it 3.
I disagree, but right now I'm at, how about this? The highest you can go right now, maybe 2 points for home field. I don't think it matters as much as it used to. On average, we factor in 1.5 points for home field.
The line wants you at -2.5 to get on the Bengals, knowing they're going to win by a field goal and they're going to cover. And I'm realizing this. When the line is 3.5, Vegas wants you on the dog. When the line is 2.5, Vegas wants you on the favorite. I'm understanding some trends.
It's not that they want you there. You got to see the value in the game. I would say my initial thought is take Cincinnati, but this is 2.5, so you don't get that hook, right? So if it was 3, I might lean to Cincinnati, but if we're only getting 2.5, Seattle could still lose by 3 and cover the game. So that's the tricky part, where you got to see the value in the number, and the number really does matter. I mean, some of the games will land on look at what was the last week's game where it was 5-8, like the Baltimore Pittsburgh game was the weirdest numbers you can come up with at the start of the
10,
game.
8 maybe, yeah.
Yeah, like a 5 and an 8 with a safety or something.
Yeah.
I think that they'll start mattering more, and that's why they're getting a little sharper and closer. The 1.5s, I don't think really matter as much. I think you're just really trying to pick a winner there, because it's hard to end on 1 unless you're going for the 2 points and you don't get it and you're down by 1. But I do think they're the 3.5s. That's the hook you want. It's not, you don't want to be on the bad side of that. You don't want to, if you know the game's going to be close, you want the extra 0.5 point to try to cover the game. So I don't know. This 2.5 scares me a little bit, because you're blatantly just saying they have to win, and that's kind of hard. Yeah, I
think Seattle's a good team. They're coming off a bye. I kind of want to lean the Seattle side, but again, I wish it was 3 or 3.5. At 2.5, it's sketching me out. But I think that's a fun game in the early window on Sunday.
Yeah, a lot of good games. Are we gonna watch football together ever again, or we just do it once a year and call it quits, or what are we doing?
Once a year is pretty good. Yeah, I got to come over for Sunday ticket. Maybe this Sunday is a good
Yeah,
Sunday.
we could just be in the back room. We could have multiple. I could have 3 TVs on. We could have a lot of games. We could have different setups. Reds. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
The Dolphins play in the early window, so that's very attractive to me.
Okay, so it's really. I will say you get exhausted. You're trying to keep track, and I've been trying to take notes too, like just making sure that I'm following the games. It's a lot.
Okay, I'll try it out Sunday. We'll see. I'll just one more tease on the picks this week. I won't give them all to you, of course.
That's
but
fine.
I'm on Monday night's game. I think it's a fascinating game. Cowboys at Chargers. Cowboys by 2.5. I wavered back and forth. I'm pretty strong one way now, but I might waver again.
So you're on Dallas minus 2.5.
I'm on the game.
Okay, so you're not going to tell me what side you're on. Okay.
I can't tell you everything, but I'm on the game.
I'm going to say
line is all I'm going to say.
I have an initial lean to Chargers, but it scares me because Dallas is a good travel team. They're coming off a big loss. It worries me, but the Chargers are a team that wins close games. I wish it was 3 or 3.5. The 2.5 does scare me because it's hard to end the game that close. I see there's no value. The line is where it's at. So I don't know. That's where I would lean, but I'm scared to take it because it is scary because it's not home field. You have no home field in Los Angeles for any team.
Not
really.
SoFi. Neither one.
No.
But the weird thing is Cowboys played at California last week.
At California?
Well, in the state of California, and then they go back to Dallas, and then this week they're back in California. That's a lot of flying for a good travel team, as you said.
Well, I'm talking about their fans. I'm not talking about them as a good travel
but
team.
just flagging it. All right.
All right. Good game. We'll see what we're all on Sunday.
But remember that late Russell Wilson pick last night was crazy. That's why the Broncos didn't cover. And really hoping I'm right about this one. Braves game 5 Saturday night.
A lot of
chance to win it all to go to the NLCS.
All right, check out the sportshangover.com. We got swag. We got the sweaters, the comfy sweaters. I don't have it back here right now. We got the holiday sweater.
Yeah.
We're gonna put out some new holiday swag. I'm gonna put out some of that Taylor Swift swag that's been seen around the internet. I'm gonna try to make some of those. Those are fun. Like Team Taylor. Yeah. No, well, we've already been close to that. All right. Good show. See ya.